What's up guys, Flo Shizzle here, and this is your Omen mains guide to Haven. Now yes, I played Omen almost exclusively before Astra came out, and even when Astra was out, on Haven specifically, I still felt like he was really strong there. So toward the latter half, before Astra got nerfed, Omen was my main play for this specific map. Now that Astra's been nerfed, I've been deciding between Omen and Brimstone, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that Omen, I feel, plays a lot better. Now this video is going to detail my exact playstyle going from pistol rounds all the way up to the end game and how I would be playing and structuring my playstyle on Haven. As for me, so far, I felt like this map is where I felt the most comfortable playing Omen, and I feel like all his abilities are used to his max potential on this map. As always, if you like the content, please hit that thumbs up icon. It really means a lot to me, more than you would ever know. And if you want to stay up to date on my content, subscribe and hit the bell notification. If you want to catch live controller gameplay between Brimstone, Viper, Omen, and Astra, check out my Twitch channel. I stream 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4 p.m. EST, so come and chat with me there. And now, onto the video. So naturally, I tend to like to start toward the defender's side, so we're gonna kind of explain which site should Omen really be kind of playing, and I tend to find that usually, I like to stay between B and C. The reason is that if you stay between this link, you get to defend 2 of the sites as well as hold for garage. And A site is usually stacked with 2 players, so normally I'd like to leave that to a Sova that consistently likes to dart lobby, or a Jet that likes to op long. These are probably generally good places. Or leave it to some sort of Sentinel to lock down the short A or something like that. That's generally kind of the playstyle. So I'll play toward B and C, where I can support my teammates from C rushes or B hits, as well as be within the range just by staying in this link to smoke even the farthest extremity on A, which is usually A long. So with that out of the way, what should you buy in pistol round? Omen has one of the most awkward pistol round buys, being the fact that his smokes cost 150. So if you buy your second smoke, you are left with 650 credits. Buying a flash will put you at 350, which essentially doesn't allow you to buy shields, a ghost, or a frenzy. Unlike before, where the ideal buy was usually the 2 smokes plus the flash and then getting light shields. This is my caveat on the defense side. I generally don't think you need 2 smokes, as on Haven, 2 of the 3 sites only really require 1 smoke to retake. So for example, if you're trying to retake B, you'll just smoke front B. If you're trying to retake C, you'll just smoke long C. A site's one of the other sites that kind of doesn't follow that rule, since there is a short A that you kind of want to smoke, as well as a long A. But in this case, I'm playing the odds to try to get a better advantage on a pistol round, and generally A is usually stacked with 2 players anyway. So my usual buy goes with just having 1 smoke that I get for free, plus the flash that costs 300, and then I'll go for ghost, frenzy, or light shields, generally ghost. This gives me the flexibility to toss my flashes through walls for retakes, as well as hold sites really easily, and that's why I highly prioritize getting this flash, as it's probably your only ability that will be able to help you win 1v1 duels. Okay, now that pistol rounds is out of the way, we're going to talk about every other round generally as a gun round. So ideally, you're swapping up between multiple sites, and I don't see enough Omen players abusing the fact that there's so much elevation between all of the sites. In terms of B, TPing up here gives you a really good height advantage to catch any people swinging out window. The things you need to be worried about is obviously just a flash here, but you can always drop at a moment's safety. Just back yourself up to the edge so that it's very easy to just make the decision to drop. C is the same thing, similar to how Chamber likes to op here and Jet likes to op from up here. Sometimes on the first gun round, they don't really expect someone to be up here. So when you're up here, you can kind of get an off angle on anyone who's trying to swing up. They usually don't expect someone like here, especially if you already have your Jet or Chamber somewhere else on the map and they expect them to be there. They generally won't expect someone to be taking an aggro angle on an off angle. Consistently mixing these up through your gun rounds will give you always an advantage at the start of every round. Maybe don't do it every single round, but I would say that it doesn't hurt to get that early information, as they're always going to need to be aware of it for the rest of the game. Now, B site is one of these sites that once you've tried to get a pick and you don't have it, you'll usually leave, and that's because usually you'll have some sort of util just watching B. B is really good to play retake, because if you think about it, there are 2 avenues from C-Link and A-Link to retake the site, and any attackers that are trying to hold site will have to deal with this 180 retake, which is going to be relatively hard. They're usually going to resort back to playing off-site after they planted. But since Haven is a 3-sided map, you're generally going to want to just give B so you can continually make sure that C and A are more well defended, as those are the harder sites to retake. Now, as for where you should be smoking, you can kind of calm this and work this with your teammates. Smoking window is always a good one, as it forces the attackers to really need to swing through grass to make sure you're not pushing down mid, because they now will no longer have any sight from window. And if it's anything like an A rush or a C rush, you basically punish them right away if you just walk down, because they will have no info on any mid presence. The other kind of default smoke you can kind of do is toward A long, but this in general usually wants to be combined with some sort of short A presence, because if you smoke the edge of long, people pushing up short A and long A will be able to take lobby relatively easily and force attackers to need to re-clear lobby. As well as if they're taking any fights, they don't need to worry about this Opera that usually sits in the back of bricks right there, and they can just fight the people close. Now, toward the lower elo, I do see sometimes people smoking the bottom of C. Now, this isn't by any means like awful. This is actually okay, but the issue is this usually gives them free ult orb, and you don't really want them to have that. You'd rather force out their smoke to smoke you off to get the ult orb rather than them use your smoke to get the ult orb. So in that case, I don't really usually use this smoke. And the last smoke that you could do is a garage smoke, and that's just to deter any pushes. In general, this is kind of optional. You don't really need to always have one, and if I were to prioritize one, I'd usually do the mid window and just keep one smoke on hand. That way, at the beginning of the round, you'll already start the countdown on the smoke. You'll gain that extra map presence. The enemy will need to play a little slower to clear for any possible mid presence, and then you'll probably get that smoke by the time you may need to play retake later in the round. So let's talk about how to defend certain sites. So in terms of Omen, you're always trying to play off his flash. So usually playing back plat right here, just to flash down the entire lane. If you look at the minimap, you're going to see that it catches pretty much everything, and then swinging off of it is a pretty good idea. So the first thing you're going to want to do on site execs, or when you know that it's going to be a C exec, is you actually want to smoke. So if you're planning on flashing, I actually don't recommend smoking up here, and I would actually recommend you smoke down here to cover this cubby. Now, why you might ask is because when I smoke something like this, and I flash, I now get to catch anyone out in this tiny little lane in front of the smoke. Rather than when you throw a smoke like this, and then you flash, they'll just immediately back up into the smoke. Obviously, the flash gets less effective once they've come out on the sides because the flash is no longer hitting the entirety of the lane. So I like to throw the deeper smoke to catch off more people. You might be wondering, what are indications that they're executing on C? Normally, that's a dart or a drone. So usually the dart lands somewhere here, back here. It's the same for the Astral ones, back here or even up here, depending on the Sova. So that dart is a good way to spot it, but otherwise, you're just going to want to be jump spotting to see if anything is down there. If they smoke the top C one, then you're going to need to play a little bit more dynamically, and you're probably not going to want to aim for this lane one particularly, and you want to cover one of the sides as well. So what I mean by this is, like, if this gets smoked here,
cover going out,
and you have no vision whether they can be walking up, playing like this is going to make it really awkward, because when you look at your flash here, it covers the lane, but it doesn't cover any of the left and right run out. But by the time you know that they're executing and you throw the flash, they would have already probably pivoted out to the left or the right. Yes, you might catch the people in the center, but there's probably guaranteed going to be someone going toward this side and some people going toward this side. So in that case, I usually recommend playing something like this, because this allows you to cover more of one half of the side. Yes, it doesn't get as deep into cubby. Yes, it doesn't hit as deep into the lane, but in general, it doesn't matter anymore because this smoke wouldn't have allowed you to really see them anyway. So hugging toward one of the sides, now when you flash, you only have to focus on this and you can slowly clear covering from left to right. Rather than playing back sight right here where you'll flash, and then you might have to worry about anyone scaling up on the left while you're fighting people on the right, and then you'll be pinched between two sides. This way, you allow yourself to kind of only have to focus on one, and you continually clear all the way through. Unlike backside, where you have to kind of pivot between the two. Now, if you have been recently getting really swarmed and you haven't been trading positively, then the next best smoke is probably to just throw something right here, in between the plat and the default box, and then playing something like back plat. This is similar to my Astra guy where I said that you could put a star here, but it is a little bit harder because this requires you to actually do it manually. Astra could place the star and pop it whenever she needed, but Omen does have to get into his shadow form thing and drop the smoke there. So if you get fast enough, then yes, get used to doing that. You can even play in the smoke if you really want to, but otherwise you can just play back plat and hold this angle, allowing your teammates to swing in as they know they don't have to worry about this and they just look at logs while they're running in. A lot of the times on C, you'll have your early rotate from garage be on site while the site execute is coming, and in that case, I like to play in this area. This allows you to get early information onto anyone pushing into garage, maybe get a pick or something, and then you can always fall down here relatively safely, as well as decide if you want to TP back to the default box. This is a great place to lurk, as if you have a teammate creating noise back site, generally they sometimes won't clear this, and you can just focus on throwing the smoke and then killing anyone who runs out. The next spot would be to camp logs, but in general this one isn't as good, as this one's a lot more risky. It's all due to pathing though, because you can see the edge of logs way earlier than you can see the deep corner of C plat. So meaning that once you get the kill, your chances of getting traded are quite high. And you likely won't have enough time to get out with a TP or anything like that. And you likely just have to play your life and get as many kills as you can. Now, those are generally the safest positions because they're the farthest back into sight. But sometimes you want to play for kills. And in general, when playing for kills and you don't have something like a flash, then you probably want to play a little closer. Something like behind this box is fine. Otherwise, this corner is also okay. But remember, you're playing for one, and this is going to require another level of awareness because you need to, one, not get droned. If you get droned, you are generally dead from any of these angles. So you need some sort of teammate in the back breaking any drone or any dart. If you do happen to hear or see a dart flying through, your instant instinct is to drop a smoke, and then you're going to really want to walk into it. That way, the dart doesn't scan you as you're pushing in, and then they're not going to expect it to be really clear as the dart just came up and the smoke just came up. You literally just timing yourself right in. They usually don't expect someone to be that close so early, and then they'll walk in. You'll get an easy kill as they don't really expect it. But like I said, you have to be nimble, and you have to be quick on your feet with fast decision making. The gimmicky areas, like playing up here, I don't really like. Yes, you can get a kill or two. It's all right. I usually like playing for two, and this area kind of doesn't give you as good of an angle to get two, especially with the fact that the higher you go, the amount of util that is used to clear out these close angles is a lot. Now let's kind of talk about playing for garage. Now normally you will decide to want to either smoke this or just hold it. It really depends on what type of util is here to support you. Sometimes I'll get aggressive playing angles like this, trying to get some sort of cheeky headshot in while they're running across, as this is an off angle. They don't usually are holding for either someone up in the window or someone on the ground, but when you're in between, it kind of throws them off a little bit. The util that I'm usually expecting in garage is usually something like a chamber bot or a killjoy alarm bot, and if you want, you can play off of this, having a flash something like this, and then swinging off of it the moment the util activates. But remember, the chamber bot or killjoy bot does not activate in time if it's here because of the way the line of sight works. They can be all the way up here without you knowing. So make sure that you do tuck in so you can make sure your flash hits everything and you're not susceptible to the one area that they can actually cross to. So be careful of that. The next thing you can do is just to smoke it out. Normally I like to get the edge of the circle to cover the doors like this.
Cover going out.
That way I can hold something like this, or just right here, and the moment they walk through, they're susceptible to here, everywhere, right? Rather than giving it a deep smoke like this, which makes it a little bit awkward because now they can ignore the left side or clear most of the left side and swing through like this while blocking anyone in this corner from seeing them. So make sure you push your smoke out. It's just the way to throw proper smoke.
Shadows traveling.
Playing window is actually pretty solid. You can punish teams that don't really want to smoke this or anyone that's trying to lurk up into garage. Basically, if you have some sort of spotting util like chamber bot, then sitting in this is actually not that bad if you throw your smoke and you keep it cycling. That way, if the bot pops, you can instantly flash and jump down and try to clear, kind of baiting them into a trap and then getting the kill. Otherwise, if they try to silently get into garage, which is actually quite common, you might catch a cheeky one-off angle as they don't expect you to be tucked into the corner. This spot is actually not that bad, but be careful. If there's multiple people swinging, you probably will get traded. This spot is also pretty great as you get this one-on-one angle and you pretty much have the headshot line always in front of you. So even if you kill the first one, you have a pretty fair chance against the second one as well. This one's the normal angle that you're playing, and this one's pretty default. It's the safest one. Basically, as long as they don't break this door and spam you, you're pretty safe. And you can tuck in and out. I just don't recommend you always tucking deep in. And the issue with the tucking deep in is that players on the attacking side can actually clear these angles one at a time. So they'll clear like this, right? And then after they clear, they get to back up to this and check this, and you would see absolutely nothing. So you kind of want to be playing out so that when they're clearing this, they have to fight you here, and they are probably not ready for you. So what I like to do is I like to sit like right here in this off angle, and if I see the gun poking out, then I'll just swing out and just get the headshot. This also allows you, when you multi-fragging, so you kill the guy, you can keep tucking in further, rather than when you're already in and you kill a guy out here, the next guy is just going to swing wider, and you have no area to move. Ideally, the fight should go something like this, and then you keep running in, making it harder for them to track you. Now for playing B, I did mention that most of the time I will just play retake. I sometimes do look to be aggressive on B site when I have another teammate with me. Now the type of agent that I'm expecting is usually something like a jet or a chamber that's up top here, offing window. So in that case, I won't smoke it, and I'll do something like I'll TP here, and I'll let my teammate on site take the aggro off. Someone will swing window, they'll get the kill, or they won't. It doesn't really matter. And then you have this advantageous position where they're probably not going to clear because they assume that since there's one person on site, there's probably not someone pushed up. Yes, they can probably hear your TP if they're really listening, but I think it's worth the gamble. And even so, if they think that you're in this corner, they might just swing for free, trying to catch you off, and they die to the op for free. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. Now, I'm going to throw this in because ranked is kind of random, and you can end up defending A site. It's not like Omen is bad at it. So I'm going to throw in a few kind of pointers on how you really want to play. Right off the rip, if you have another teammate like the Opping Jet or Chamber, then it's really good for you to be the aggro one, and they'll hold the passive angle. They'll draw the aggro off of clearing you, and then you can get some free kills. TPing across here, having them peek here into lobby, and breaking any sort of dart util over here, and then you get that you can get easily 1 or 2 kills because they don't expect another player to be up aggressive. The next spot is always up on top of the boxes. This gives a better angle down on the short A push, and generally because of the way angling works, if you think about it, it's pretty hard to notice someone from back here. They have to swing really close, but if they're swinging really close to clear up this, they're obviously susceptible to this, and this. And generally, that's why players will take the farther angle. But when you notice, oh, if they take the farther angle, then they're susceptible to this. So putting them in a really awkward position where they don't have really any good angle to clear, and you're just holding something like this, you're probably getting an easy kill. As for the flash, because there's 2 ways onto the A site, you generally just want to use one to isolate one and then take the fights there. After that flash is faded, you swing to the next one. So for A, it's usually flashing short A or A long on an execute. When they're splitting, you'll flash one, you'll go and try to get the kills, and then you'll fall back and then try to hold for anyone who's probably swinging wide after. You get one kill or something, and then you swing back, try to get your second. A long is technically the better one, especially if you have smokes, basically which will do something like this, right? So we're assuming smokes get up, and then you're gonna flash one of them, you're gonna swing, kill anyone who's run through, and then you're gonna keep swinging until you've already, basically you try to get to this area so that it becomes super easy to hold, because if they run out and then run out there, you have this one line of sight you need to worry about. It's a little optimistic thinking to think you can get there, but the farther you get up this way, the more easy the fights get, because everything becomes right in front of your vision rather than you needing to pivot between left and right. Another combo is a flash and then immediately teleport into the corner. This is solid, but as always, teleports are always a little bit risky. Usually I'll do this after I try to get 1 free kill rather than just flashing and TPing without any sort of information. You also have to make sure you time it properly, and you want to make sure that you hit somebody. If people are already out long, this is generally not the best idea. You'll probably die. You can also TP into this corner. That's also not bad. So let's talk about being the best supportive teammate you can be. If they are not on site yet and you are close enough to be able to help on site, it's generally better to smoke these chokes. It's either down here or up here. It depends on where your teammate is holding. A smoke right here is pretty good if you have a teammate holding close, or a CT, just killing anyone who runs out. Otherwise, this one is better if you have none of that and it's just one guy default. Generally, you want to smoke for them, and then you want to set up for a flash. So after smoking, I hear that they're coming A. I'm setting up for a flash like this. And if you look in the mini map, it's covering all of front sight. So someone here or even in hell right there will be able to swing off of it. Basically, I'm waiting, I'm staring at the mini map, seeing the moment that when they spot somebody, and then I'm going to aim my flash, obviously, to hit them and cover for anyone who's pushing out of the smoke. Throwing something like this will make it significantly easier for your teammates to kill them. It's just a horizontal flash that literally covers this entire area, and with smokes paired up,
cover going out,
you'll realize anyone that is in this box is kind of trapped. So timing is everything, and as long as you're on top of your rotates, you generally can get in time to just get into this position to throw the flash. This is the same thing from C. Sometimes when you're playing garage and get smoked out, you can either decide to aggress with your teammates, and the moment your teammates spot something, you flash like this, and then you'll run out of the smoke, catch anyone off guard here, and then your teammates can swing. You guys just kill at the choke point. Otherwise, if you're a little bit later, you'll throw something like this way from here or here, and you're just trying to flash default here. Flashing B is also really solid. Generally, I like to get into this corner of garage window, but sometimes you don't get that luxury. But if you can, that covers all the bases. Just make sure garage is actually clear. And when you flash, you'll flash through front sight like this, and then that allows your teammates to usually clear pretty easily. As front sight is blind, they could check back sight real quick, and then they're good to take the rest of the site. Now let's talk about retaking on A. Normally, you just want to throw it probably from here rather than from here. The exception is when you know no one's graffiti. Graffiti is such a power position, you generally want to clear it. So having a flash like that really does help. You can either aim toward the inside like this and aim for hell, or you can aim toward the outside and aim for default. Either way is good. It really depends on what your team is doing. If you flash toward the outside, then your teammates clear hell while your flash is up. If you flash toward the inside, then your teammates would probably just want to kill the hell players. It's just that hell is such a hard angle to clear that has maximum priority. For C, priority is usually just flashing plat right here. This allows your teammates to scale out because the most dangerous spots to usually get shot from is someone holding here or someone holding here. And then once you flash that, your garage players will have an easier time defending anyone, fighting anyone on site. And yeah, it's just pretty simple flash like this. Just make sure you also pre-smoke long and then you flash. All right, the last thing I want to point out on the defense, because chamber is so prevalent, I think it's worth to tell you the most common chamber places to put trips. That way you kind of prepare for it. And because you're a smoke agent, naturally when you flank, you can smoke out the trips and you do have that added benefit. So Haven C long, normally what I would be expecting is usually a trip here, a trip there, or back here. Otherwise it'd be somewhere here. That's usually what I would be expecting. And then for the A site one, it's either right here, or sometimes they'll put it in this like tuft of grass, like right here. Obviously, they can be put anywhere, but these are the natural angles to check because if you don't expect it and you just walk out, it's going to activate. You really want to just jiggle to see where it is, and once you see where it is and make sure it doesn't spot you, then you can go and smoke it out. If it's something like this, yes, that can cover it, but since you can see it from so far and it doesn't trip, you can now obviously actively decide to smoke it like this without really me needing to explain it. So yes, use common sense. If you see it, then obviously smoke it out. I'm telling you the spots that you might need to slow clear in order for it to not even trigger once. Now let's talk about the attack. The attack, you have to get 2 smokes because every site pretty much requires 2 smokes. Whether it's C, it's CT garage. Whether it's B, it's the 2 links. And whether it's A, it's CT in heaven. After that, you can decide whether you want to go for something like a ghost or light shields. It's really up to you. You can get light shields and you can cheat and get more like TPs or something like that. It's really up to your own play style at that point. I tend to favor the ghost as I like just shooting people, and I generally find that TPs don't come into play as much as we'd like them to. I'll explain on a later bit when TPs are almost guaranteed value. So if you know your team is playing slow, then the default is usually just smoke top C. That's just pretty solid. It's the one that denies the most information and gets you a free orb. So I think that's probably usually the best benefit. But besides that, let's talk about some site executes and taking space across the entire map. So obviously 2 smokes are for garage and for spawn. And this is how you really want to path. So pathing matters because your goal as a controller is to make the site push as smooth as possible. And you don't want any gaps where the smoke hasn't landed yet. And your teammate peeks before the smoke and dies. So what I mean by that is like, oh, your teammates are running up C long and your smoke garage one hasn't popped yet. You don't really want that. So what you're going to do is you're going to follow up any sort of util. So you're going to smoke. And then as your team, like 1 or 2 teammates are running ahead of you, you're going to smoke for the second. And you're going to immediately go for this log flash. That's usually the best flash as it clears everything close. It clears logs, clears this angle that people like to hold from here. And that's generally the most value flash that I can see. This is also not a bad flash if you're doing a B split. So normally if you're doing a B split, you wouldn't have that garage smoke. You would have the one for garage window. And this flash is good if your teammates are not out yet. Obviously, you don't want to flash your own teammates. If your teammates are out, then you're probably going to just want to aim for something just like default. And that'll probably do the job. You obviously don't want to flash your teammates. So with the speed in mind, you're going to be waiting at the barrier. Your Sova pulls out his drone. He's droning. You're just going to smoke the first one. You're going to clear. And then as you get close, you're going to get into this one. And then flash right away. And by that time, your teammates should be up here. Flash is going out. And they're clearing sight. Taking garage is also relatively simple. You just want to make sure that you're checking for some sort of mid presence, because any mid push can stop this pretty quickly. You're going to smoke garage window. I normally would wait till I get a little bit closer. Maybe something like, if you really want to speed it up, you can do something like this right off the rip and you can get closer to the doors. That's not really necessary, but anyway, smoke out the window and then you're going to go and clear all these angles together. Hopefully you have a teammate with you, because this angle is really realistically what you're most worried about. They can be hiding here, but it's just not the best spot. In general, I've seen a lot of teams just leave garage open and you're just basically looking for the trip. Chamber trip likes to lie here or here. So as long as you spot it and break it, you'll be all set. So make sure you look out for that. So after the garage smoke, And then you're clearing, you don't see anything. All right, nothing, and you break the trip, and then you're gonna smoke for CT, and then you're gonna probably hop into this corner, and you're gonna flash along the edge of default, like that. And it covers the most space all the way to back plat. You're gonna clear this, and then you should be all set after that with your teammates long scaling up. If we're going A, it's a decision between long and short. If you have some sort of Sova drone, then maybe I'll go long, but it's kind of either or. You're really dependent on where you're trying to flash. A lot of good flashes from here onto site. Otherwise, you're going from long through default or something like that. So a lot of the times I'll just like to wait for the barrier to drop, and then I'll immediately teleport across. And then this allows you to dodge the Sova dart that usually likes to come here. You still need to break one if they know one that lands here, though. The other option is to immediately teleport just straight towards sewers. Immediately have your gun out, though, because if they're trying to get aggro sewers, you will have to fight them. We're going to assume that you go through long, so then in this case, you're going to want to smoke heaven, smoke CT, and then I'm going to flash through something like this. And that will hit everything in this close area, as well as go through default. If you're coming out short, it's the same smokes. You're going to smoke CT. You're going to smoke heaven. And then as you're clearing up, check, and then you're going to aim right like here. Remember, there's elevation changes. So if you want, you can kind of get used to it and ping the areas where you know the elevation is. So in my case, I'm trying to hit this corner as well as back sight. So I'll throw a flash like that. And pinging it allows you to get that elevation right. Now, I left B site for last because B site is one of those that I'm only going to talk about playing from post plant. You can play to hold the site. It is a little bit harder. I also feel like it's just unnecessary because post plant is just so much stronger. Basically, in this case, the goal is to get this spike down here so that you can spam it. You can also get it here. It really depends. So the timing that matters is if your teammates are trying to do it fast and you're relying on your jet to do it, then you just want to smoke one of them right away and then smoke the other. And then you're probably, I would actually don't really think you need a flash because this area is so usually unguarded. If you save your flash or post plant, it might be more effective. But in general, yes, smoke left, smoke right, your jet plants in the corner here and then dashes out. Perfect. Otherwise, if it's a slow round and you're taking B late, then yes, I would still smoke the extremities. And then you're going to, with your teammate clear, and then you're probably going to be the one planting. And then you plant, and then you're going to want to TP out. This is like the ideal way to use Omen's TP in a very safe manner that gets you in and out really easily. You can even TP on site, but you just want to make sure that there's some sort of clear. Whether that's a dart for close that lands like right here, a drone or something like that so that you don't die just instantly by TPing in blind. After that, you can play anywhere from back here, window, grass, anywhere. And you're just going to make sure that, yes, they're probably going to smoke it out, but, you know, it's pretty easy to spam, especially if you're playing like a corner like this. There's just not very much surface area. You just want to make sure that the flanks are washed as well as stop any garage pushes. The one thing you want to make sure that you're aware of when pushing B, though, is the chamber trip that's either here, sometimes they'll put it up here. Those are usually the very common ones, and then you should be all set. We'll go over some teleporting locations. Haven is really known for its fakes because the sites are so far apart and rotates are really easy to pull. Just based off the fact that there's 3 bomb sites and defenders already stretched out thin, so rotates generally come a little bit earlier, meaning that if you throw a fake, it's generally more effective. So if you're trying to TPC, if you make noise A, you can TPC, and generally I don't even want to put it in the corner. I'd rather put it out a little bit more. This way I can spot if anyone's still on site and I get more information. I actually am doing this because if you TP in here, if they're like along this backside, they can hear you and they'll probably just clear you after you get out. But when you TP out here, you can see if anyone's here. And if they're not on site, they probably are already rotated. It's all dependent on timing though. If your teammates are rushing up C long and garage, then I will commit to the backside TP because as long as they're not backside, my teammates will deal with anyone that would try to kill me from CT spawn because that's the weakness of it. For B, you can teleport backside. This is okay. This is pretty good if you're hitting B and it allows you to take site more easily. For A site, it depends. You're usually deciding between TPing to heaven or hell. When you TP to heaven, you're going to aim for this like L turn right here. But when you're trying to go to hell, you're trying to aim for this little smaller box behind it. That's the difference between TPing to either. This one gets you under, and then this one gets you into the top. Now, you might be thinking TPing Heaven is not that great of an idea sometimes, but you have to realize that Heaven is smoked out almost every single time. So there's usually not as many players that are just stationed here. They're usually playing on site. So purposely not smoking Heaven, TPing up into Heaven is actually a pretty good idea, because any default players are going to be now very scared of you just peeking Heaven, as well as your teammates that are scaling up. You just need to make sure that you're aware that, you know, well, you just need to make sure that you're aware that you can obviously get pushed Heaven, but usually you'll probably get some sort of sound cue, or it depends on the speed. Speed is everything. The slower you take, the more rotates that come in. The last one that is for most playmaking potential is probably to TP somewhere in spawn. You can TP here, or you can even TP a little bit deeper. This sometimes just catches off people that aren't expecting it. Normally you would do this when you made a lot of noise towards C site, because it's a little bit harder to hear this one, and you can catch off C site rotates, and then your teammates are probably going to rotate back toward A. You catch off anyone here. Obviously it is a little bit of a telegraphed play, but they might sometimes just expect you just to teleport straight onto the A site. Anyways, that wraps up this Omen guide. We do have Brimstone guides on the way, but I've been playing Omen for so long, I thought I would start with this. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do. And if you want to see more content, subscribe, hit the bell notification. But as always, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.